Welcome to Campfire Football. I'm Sebastian North. Today, I'm not going to talk about football. I'm really not in the mood. And I'm just overall a little bit worried about tensions in our society at the moment. It scares me because I just feel like this has been building for a really long time, and most of it comes from our inability to sort out petty arguments and understand how we should react in moments like that. But most importantly, how we view each other as human beings and forget to see the one basic reality that we are all really the same. We all just want the same things. Now, when I say that, I mean we all want basic survival needs. And then after that, it's not too complicated. We want people around us, friends, family. We want love and compassion in our lives, to give it and receive it. We want purpose. We like to be able to do things and be proud of them. And we want something to also believe in, something to strive for a future. Something to better the lives of ourselves, the people around us, and people to come. Ask anyone in the world this, no matter where you go. Everyone is going to end up telling you that their top 5 things that are most important are those. Now, we're at a point where we seem to be able to find all of the little things that make us different. Because what's interesting is that beyond those basic needs, we diverge into over 7 billion different little stories. And those come with a whole bunch of different viewpoints, perspectives, and ideas of what the reality that we live in is. And everyone's reality is, well, it's everyone's reality. It's each individual and their identity. And we build identities off of the reality that we see. What's important is that we understand how our beliefs affect everything around us and how we show our beliefs to everything around us. Now, I started this podcast not just because I wanted to talk about the beautiful game. I started this because in 2020, I finally hit a breaking point with hearing just trolling and just the meme culture's viciousness towards players and managers, and the overall negativity that was growing in the game, where if you watched a 4-3 thriller, 15 minutes of a segment would be praising the team that won, and 15 minutes would be cutting apart the team that lost, instead of just saying, what a great spectacle that was. The criticism needed to be involved, and it was heavy. Sometimes it outweighed the positivity, and we talked less about the winner than we did the loser. Now, it's great to talk about the loser, to give them some credit, to show them some props, but to go and spend extra time dogging them. I started noticing that this was happening everywhere. Cancel culture, social media pylons. And it scared me because I love this game, and I started to feel like the opinions that everyone has were being driven by silly narratives. So I decided I'm going to go ahead and add my voice, because that's not the way I think and talk. And hopefully there's some people that are kind of sick and tired of this slash and grab and push and maul culture and want to listen to some fun discussions where we're not trying to tear people down, where we're just talking about the beautiful game, where football is our focus and enjoying it as humans. Think about it. This is an amazing thing. We build a sport that we can all connect to. This is why I talked about Dina Rothman a few days ago. Because her whole goal is to bring people together. 800 people participated in a 5-day five-a-side match. Do you think all 800 of those people who agreed to do this together have the exact same political views, social views, that they agree on the really, really tight details of extremely difficult and taboo subjects? No way. But they came together for something, for a common cause. When I think about a common cause for all of us, whether you are talking about football on a daily basis and commenting on pages or creating posts, or whether you are stepping into more important realms of society, I think it's important we start to be a little bit more measured and remember we're talking to people, to human beings. Remember that we're all alike. At the start of the year, I had a realization. I had a really difficult conversation with someone in a comment section on Instagram about a football post, and I felt like crap about it at the end of the whole thing. In the end, I just gave up talking to the person. I didn't enjoy it. It was over. Then when MLS came back, Colorado Rapids put a post in support of Black Lives Matter showing the players kneeling. And there was a guy who posted in the comment section of that post, he said that he was a season ticket holder for over 10 years and he was no longer going to do it because he was disappointed by this influx of political stuff on the sports field. Now, he received over 120 replies of just full on everything in contradiction to what he was saying. Some people just, calling him a bigot, middle finger emoji, whatever. Some people going a little bit deeper and saying a sentence. Some people bringing out a full list of statistics of police violence, of inequality, of all kinds of things. And when I was reading this, I was like, the guy's not going to be receptive to any of this. No matter how right any of you are or feel you are, whatever it is, he's not going to be receptive to any of this. And the pile-on was so huge that I was just like, why not just ask this guy another question? So instead of taking the route that I took earlier in the year, which was to get in an argument with someone, I actually tried to engage him. So I asked him a question. Do you really think that politics and sports are not always inextricably linked? And I mentioned, the Olympics. I mentioned the Colosseum in Rome and the gladiators. I mean, look back, a lot of these things, they're strongly politically linked. There's positive stories. The Ivory Coast managed to put a civil war on hold because they qualified for the World Cup. So politics and sports linked. I wanted to just let him know that's a reality. And I also let him know that I wasn't a fan of the fact that when I go to see a game, a sporting event, I'm told that I should drink beer or Coca-Cola and I should eat hot dogs and candy. Like, that's what's advertised at me. And I don't like it. So I go to sports games less often in the United States because of that. And told him, if you're not interested in the club actively deciding to bring societal issues to the field, then you probably shouldn't go. And he responded with a few interesting points. He talked about Tim Tebow getting fined by the NFL for having a Bible verse written on his face, which I thought was really interesting. I didn't know anything about that. And so I learned something from him. Hopefully he learned something from me. And in the end, we parted the conversation with a thanks for chatting, basically. Like, thanks for having a conversation. And I felt way better about the way that experience went and decided that's like really how we need to try to do this all the time. So how do you do that when someone says something that just pisses you off? Something that you believe is a damaging thing for our society to think and believe? Well, slow down for a second and remember something. Number one, conversation is always better than confrontation. That's one. Number two, Ask a question before hurling vitriol, before throwing an insult. Follow those two things, and it will set you on a better path than, I'm just going to say something negative right now. And I understand that a lot of negativity also comes from the fact that people are trying to just be funny. But you can't only just be funny. You have to remember that sometimes the things you bring to the table also have another effect. They can damage people. They can annoy people. If you're happy to take the responsibility of whatever you bring, fine. And what I think here, looking at the United States, we are in a very tense moment where an election was decided by around 7 million people and over 150 million voted. I know that sounds like we're all incredibly divided, but we're not. If you can just approach looking at a person and seeing first that they want the same basic things that you do, and then realizing that their life gave them a different set of perspectives and beliefs than you, then you might learn something about how they arrived there and how you arrived where you did. Immediately deciding that they are irredeemable, it makes no sense, because at the core, they're the same as you. I started this podcast with the desire to just bring that in the microcosm of football. But you know what? Yesterday and today, I just have to say, the reason I started this is because of things like what we're seeing happen in our society now. Can we possibly use these small spheres of conversation that we have, like social media, and talking about events like a sport or a music genre or movies, anything cultural? Can we use those to enrich the way we communicate with each other? So that if you hear someone say something you disagree with, you're able to check yourself, not get mad, and have a conversation about it. Well, we've been training ourselves pretty poorly in those spheres. So now that we have to deal with something genuinely real, like not descending into civil war, it'd be a good time to check and remember, we're all the same. We find different life paths. That is humanity. So, my message to everyone is just, please show a little more love. Show a little more compassion. Just remember, if people are doing something so drastic as storming a Capitol building, they strongly believe something. And it would behoove you to understand maybe what that is before just deciding that they are irredeemable. Because at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, when you strip away color, culture, size, gender, anything, we all want the same things. So everybody, please find a campfire, gather around and chat, get to know each other. Don't get triggered, just relax. And remember, we're all in this together. This is Campfire Football. Good night.